Okay, we're live, I think.
Yeah, it says we're live. So talk, start.
He's going, he's doing something.
No, it's live now. So start speaking. Yeah, yeah.
I can't see it.
It's live. We can see you. Start talking, mama.
I love
Hello.
ya. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining my show today, where I am so excited to have the great and wonderful two women that are amazing. We have Dr. Funlayo, PhD, and we have the wonderful NLP, Neurolinguistic Programming expert with us today. So thank you, ladies, for joining me on the show today, where we are talking about all things that have to do with spirit. Are you living your best life? Are you living in alignment with yourself? Are you living in alignment with yourself? 2020 came in such a bang that we had all types of things. We had forest fires. We had forest fires in two places, in Australia and Brazil. We had all types of situation going. And then we had the COVID-19. And so it came in with all types of things that would, in some cases, put you in a place of like, I know I did. I was so upset. I was so scared because this is nothing that I've been through. And I'm a strong sister that likes anything that is exciting, that is bringing something to allow me to move to the next level. However, it was one of those things that when I look back at where we were, I think it's like 3 months now, 2.5 months. I put myself in quarantine because I had just come back from Costa Rica and I didn't know what was happening. I got there and it's like, okay, everybody with masks. So I put myself in and was totally disconnected. And in that process, the fear came up like, okay, when are we going to come out of this? And when it became more and more obvious that we were going to be in this, I realized that, you know what, you could either freak out or go in. And I've just called back on other situations that we were in that I just went inside, reached out to people, to friends for support. But more than that, I recognized that the connection that I had is my true self, my real self is as a person who knows that I am an expression of the divine, that God, and in the Ifa Yoruba tradition there, you come back, you choose part of your destiny because you want the parents that you have, the relationship that you have, the people that you have, the schools, the people you marry, all of that, you choose that. Then the other part of you is that, okay, is a fix for you. Olodumare says, I'm making you perfect because you're going to be an expression of me in the physical form. So I'm sending you back to do all kinds of wonderful things. That's why no matter what we're going through, we always know that we are messengers of the divine. The divine sent us here to do works, which is the divine had this thing and says, okay, I think today I'm going to make myself in a physical form. And so it created human beings. And then there's a part of you that comes back to evolve. Some cultures call it karma. That's how you come back for school. And so in those three areas, you know that, well, you chose this. So what is the benefit of this? And once I connected and realized that, I said, you know what, my next show, we need to talk about that. And now that is the month of June, we always talk about Ifa and the divine prophet of Olodumare, who has the ability and the memory of every Odu, every situation, everything that we came to do on earth, and to remind us, because when we left the spirit world, we said, okay, this is what we're going to do. But in passage and in time going on, we forget. So Orumila or Odu is here to remind us that, okay, this is what you came to do. And these are the herbs. These are your friends, the herbs to keep you in alignment with me. These are the foods that will keep you in alignment. These are the illnesses that you're going to have to reconnect. And, oh my God, I'm going to die. Well, if you do, at least you have lived. But if you're not, here are some little more friends called herbs, called doctors, called surgery. All of that the Creator brings to us to support us, because at the bottom and the top of it is that we are messengers of God. We are all angels. We are all power sources. And so that's what connected me back to realize, this thing is not taken us out, because I've been through situations like that. And today I was speaking about that in the 60s, we went through the things that we're seeing now, the expression of the young people moving out and saying, you know, enough is enough. These are the new pioneers. We're going to the next level of expression of God. And that when enough is enough. I lived in the 60s where water and dogs and that were thrown of us when I was in school in the South. So I understand all of the things that's going on, and this too shall pass. But in the midst of that and the pandemic and wearing a mask and all that, it was just about much. So Ifa, which gives us the understanding that every day things change. Change is constant. If we look at the animals, if we look at nature, the plant does not look the same in the fall as it does in the winter. So everything is about evolution. Everything is about expansion. Everything is about understanding, and everything is interconnected and interdependent of itself. And so that's why I wanted to have, you know, you two powerful women to really take us to a greater sharing and understanding and a level of knowing that everything that we do is connecting to who we are, our true self, because the only state of consciousness that we truly are is that of peace. And all of the other things they just come to remind us that, you know, you have home. Home is called peace. And you can do meditation, you can do readings, you can do cleansings, all of that. And it's all about going back to align yourself with peace. So the month of June is that place where out of the COVID-19, I was able to connect and says, you know what, wow, this is okay. And from that, my business has evolved. I've met some powerful people. That's how I came to meet Dawn, you know, Bauer, and it's just wonderful now where my capacity of pushing buttons and putting class online, I'm like, oh, you can do this. You can do this, you know, and all the people to help me just came in and just so sweet and so gentle with me that I'm able to say, wow, and I'm able to serve other people. I was able to do my consultations and at a discount just to help people who had lost their jobs, just to encourage people that, you know, we have you, we have your back, we're gonna hold you. We have to use everything that God has given us to help us to share. So that's why I did month before last, and it was just so wonderful because through those consultations, I have met some wonderful, wonderful people. So every disappointment is God's appointment. Every disappointment is God's appointment. So this is an appointment with time. And these young children, these young men and women of different races, color, creed, sex, they are out here saying, we are the new pioneers. That's how we felt in the 60s. So this is the same thing. So I feel so honored and so pumped up and so glad and so happy that I have you two powerful sisters to come and to share us in honor of Orunmila and Odu. And the beautifulness of it, we gave at the end of this. I will give us some ways that we could perhaps join in doing some rituals or celebrations to encourage you. If you're in the Ifa faith, there's a little ritual, a ceremony that you can do, and if you're not, there's also a ceremony that you can do to your divine head.
That's right.
Odu and everything is in there. It's in there. It's a file book. It's a file cabinet. And so that if the file can come out and you can like, oh my God, I never knew I could do that. Because the file is in there. And you remind yourself that, you know, this file cabinet that you're taking all over the place, all you have to do is press the right alphabet. You can't find X in A. So that's what NLP is going to do, is to help us to see how all of this Odu and, ooh, I'm so excited. Ooh, I stay excited most of the time. Yes, so ladies,
we're excited too to be with you.
With us, joining us is the Funlayo Woods, PhD, scholar, practitioner of African and diasporic religion, and spiritual success coach, writer, strategist, motivator, speaker, and the founder and the director of the African and Diasporic Religious Studies Association. Woo!
Thank you.
Native of New Yorker like myself, and you hold her PhD in Africana Studies and Religion from Harvard University, where her focus was Ifa, Orisha religion, and Africana religious philosophy. So her work has been published in the Journal of Africana Studies, Transition, among other. I mean, she's on PBS, she's got a movie. everybody that's about anything about Ifa know Funlayo Woods Menzies. So thank you so much for being here today. And
Give thanks. Yeah,
thank
yes.
you.
Always
Thank
a
you.
pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Yes, and Fulayo, I just love the fact you're so patient, when even when you're excited, you say, just calm down, just push that button, just push that button. I need that. You're
Yes, so
when it's time
Baba
to come in,
Obatala has to
yes, you
keep us
come in.
patient. So Suruni
Yes.
Baba Iwa, that's
Ashe.
programming too. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get
Yes.
to that.
So, and then we have the Dawn Bauer, because after I do the intro, this is your show. Dawn Bauer has a bachelor in education and has taught for almost 20 years. She has been fascinated by the brain for many years and was introduced to Neurolinguistic Programming, NLP, 3 years ago. It changed her life for the better. NLP program has many definitions, but basically it is the programming that has been created in our unconscious mind based on our belief, perception, values, and experience. Boom, that is all, dude. So Dawn is currently attaining her master's in consciousness studies and is a certified NLP practitioner, coaching people all over the world. In 2020, she created Mobile Lighthouse, a company whose mission is to create a space where clients can explore what it would look like to be in alignment with their whole person. Her vision for humanity is for everyone to realize their full potential and our oneness. That's why when I spoke to her about it, I said, oh, this is my sister. This is my daughter from another mother. This is a sister from another tribe. Here she is. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies, this is your platform. Go ahead.
Wow. Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm thrilled. I'm really happy to always come before our communities and to be able to bring this type of information that is really going to springboard. Not only, again, we talk a lot about that this is not just about quote unquote spirituality, right? But that spirituality undergirds everything that we do. So it's everything that we do every day. It's the practices, it's how we program ourselves. So I am so thrilled to have learned about NLP. And Dawn, sis, good to see you.
You too.
So tell us a little bit about it for those who are with us who may not know as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you both for being on here. Yeye, since I met you in January, it's just been just such a beautiful relationship and so fun to watch you grow and expand even bigger than where you already were in January. And thank you for introducing me to Dr. Funlayo. I'm excited to continue getting to know you better and support you. And what I love about this group of women and the women that we all know and we are working with is that we know how important it is for us to continue to grow, you know, in our personal growth and our spiritual growth. And we don't stop. We don't get to a level where it's like, okay, I'm done. I'm good. I got to where I needed to be. We continue to expand and look, well, what else can I learn? How else can I expand? And, you know, I'm excited to be able to talk not only about NLP, but also spirituality. I mean, you know, bringing science and spirituality together, bringing the inner and the outer together, bringing the masculine and the feminine together, bringing the conditioning and the creativity together. Like all of that is important. And, you know, my spiritual background also is that, you know, whatever you want to call that consciousness, God, yeah, Jesus, Buddha, Ashe, like that spirit, that oneness that unites us all. I'm also with this master's in consciousness studies, studying quantum physics, which, whew, it's a lot, but super exciting. And that, you know, at this very, very basic level, we are true. They've been able to prove we are all connected. We are. And as soon as we can figure that out and really understand that, we don't want to hurt each other because then we're hurting ourselves. When we're hurting other people, we are hurting ourselves. And that is that reminding of ourselves of that oneness, and then bringing in the wholeness of balancing the yin and the yang, balancing the masculine and feminine, balancing, the inner and the outer world. We can't just go and become enlightened and then stay there. We need to come back to earth. We need to be here with each other, and that's how we learn, and we can explore the archetypes of love and justice and beauty, all of that. So with neurolinguistic programming, as Yeyefini was talking about, what we do is we go into the unconscious mind, we go into the subconscious and say, all right, what programs have we filed in there? You were talking about the file cabinet with Odoo, and I was like, oh, that's the same thing that I talk about, with NLP. I mean, these just go hand in hand so well. So our unconscious mind, for those of you that don't know, remembers everything that has ever happened to us our entire life, everything we've experienced, everything we've smelled, tasted, seen, heard, everything. However, our conscious mind only remembers 3%. And that makes sense, because if we were always remembering 100% of everything we've ever experienced in our entire lifetime, how would we ever take steps to do anything? We would be overwhelmed. So it's good because it's set programs to keep us safe. And, if we were to walk down the street and we saw a lion, we've got programs in our mind that tell us, don't approach that lion. That's not a good idea to approach that lion. However, throughout, as we're growing up, we've also set programs in there that don't serve us anymore, that they were planted there to keep us safe in the past, but they're not serving us anymore. And so we can go back with different processes and say, all right, let's first become aware, because sometimes we're not even aware of these programs that we have. Let's first become aware, and then how can we shift that and change it so it's now working for our good? We understand, okay, that's my belief. I can forgive my younger self because I didn't have the resources back then that I do now. And now, with the direction that I'm heading in, what's going to serve me better? And it is all about choice. Yeah, you were talking about this at the beginning. It's all about choice. We can choose our reality, but we have to be willing to look at what are those underlying beliefs that we may or may not know that we even have under there, and how can we shift them so that we can move in the direction of what we really want in our life, which is peace, which is love, which is oneness, which is connection. And I can keep talking, but I'm going to pause there and let you guys have a couple
Awesome. That is that. Woo.
No, that is perfect. I mean, what you were, as you were speaking, the natural connection between this and Odoo came up for me, because we talk in the Yoruba tradition about how we choose the program, so to speak, before we come to earth. We choose what we call Ori. We choose our destiny. We choose what it is that we're going to fulfill. And that the trip through the womb and the birth canal causes us to forget the things that we chose and the path that we chose. And so it is through Ifa divination, right, and the revelation of what we call Odu, which is the knowledge of the Yoruba and programs for living, really. When we talk about Odu, what we're really talking about is programs for living, telling us ways that we should behave, telling us foods that perhaps we should eat or not eat, places we should or shouldn't go, telling us the disposition that is good to have in life. And so that quote that I cited earlier, the proverb "Suru ni babaiwa," that comes from the Odu Obe Yonu, and that means that patience is the father of character. Right? So that is a part of our programming, right? Should be a part of our programming as Ifa Orisha practitioners, that every time we say these proverbs, and one of the reasons why our ancestors had this practice of repeating proverbs and songs and things like this over and over and over again is because they understood that the things that we hear and what goes into us is what we become. So if every day I'm saying, or Rimi Tutu, may my head be cool. If every day I'm saying, Suruni Babaiwa, patience is the father of character, that is how I'm programming myself, right? So this is one of the reasons why, both Yeye and I love this idea of neuro-linguistic programming and have gotten into working with you and exploring this concept, because this is exactly what we do, although, we may not know these scientific terms for it, right? So now we get to bring those together and say, understand that when we divine, this is what we are doing. We're not doing something, spooky or out there. It's very practical, and it's very geared at not only revealing information, but also putting information into us and reprogramming us in a new way. Because many of us, of course, especially in the diaspora as people of African descent, have been programmed in ways that are detrimental to our own well-being, right? We've been programmed away from ourselves in many ways. We've been programmed towards individualism instead of our communalism that is natural to us. We've been programmed in a lot of different ways. And so studying Ifa, studying Orisha, studying these various African spiritual systems, and also using the programming that comes through their divination systems is a huge, huge part of practice, and a huge part of making sure that these practices really serve us on a real level, on a day-to-day basis, and aren't just something that we're talking about once in a while, but that they really work for us.
Yeah, I love that you're talking about, these positive affirmations is basically what you're repeating these things and reminding, keep my head cool and stay patient and those kinds of things, because the opposite can be true. We can surround ourselves with people who are feeding us negative information and bringing us down and pulling us down. And that also is programming us. And so at what point are we listening to it? It's a practice to learn, am I listening to my inner voice? Am I listening to the divine voice, my higher consciousness? Or am I listening to voices in the past that have said, no, and maybe that's society, maybe that's religion sometimes, that's our upbringing, the friends that we hang around, whose voice am I listening to? Am I staying connected with that source? As you both have said, we come here and everybody has different beliefs, but in the quantum spirituality, I'm going to throw this book out there for anybody that's watching too. There's a couple books that I are a part of my textbooks for this quantum spirituality class. One's called Quantum Spirituality.
Oh,
and
yes.
the author is Dr. Goswami, Goswami. And then the Everything Answer book. And he's talking just about this, how we now know, science, material science, with Newtonian science is no longer, it doesn't work anymore. It does not work anymore for us. Yes, we have gravity and we have the physical world, but that is not the truth. And they cannot solve things like, how is it in DNA that, we need a protein and we also need, now I'm totally, I will come back to this, but you need both. You need these different things, and we can't quite figure out, well, one doesn't mean the other. One doesn't mean that we're going to have the other. And he talks so much about how, what spirituality at its core is having that spiritual experience, right, with the source.
Experience, yes.
That experience. And many religions came out of that, right? And then they created things that have doctrine and dogma and things like that. But not everybody in the religion is having that spiritual experience. People have forgotten to go back and have that personal spiritual experience. And now what we know about quantum science and spirituality, we can bridge this gap. And talking about that wholeness again, talking about masculine and feminine and the inner and outer, we can bridge spirituality and science again with quantum spirituality and everything that we're talking about here. We can bring these things together and unite. And I think if we do that, it's going to change so many things for people.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation, because in Ifa tradition and practice, we have a way of going and checking and say, okay, so how far did you deviate? What does it take for you to get back to realize that you're an expression of the divine, that you're really just a spirit hosting this body? And every day that you live, you're actually on your way to death. So in between A and B, between life and death, then, you know, you want to find me from birth to death. You want to find out what are the things that you're going to do to keep you balanced so that you can find that self of peace that we're talking, grounding, and know that you came to change. But how do you change it? Who do you change it for? So that's the beauty that I like of both systems, is that one is telling you what is your consciousness, Odu is telling you now this is what you need to zero in on. Just like when you have a practice in the NLP, you go in and you reprogram what it is that your belief is. With Ifa, you go in and you find out, okay, this is the reason why you're believing. And that's what I love about it, is taking it to the step where, so Dr. Funlayo, could you answer to that? Is that when you find out exactly why is it, because the NLP takes you to, this is happening. You have a choice. You can actually see it right in front of you. And then Odu says, okay, so this is the reason why, because you were programmed to believe this, that, and the other. But here is another thing, is that you were born pre-programmed. And so look at what's happening to you as a negative.
Right.
Look at it as the potential for you to use that as a grounding for jumping off into being another greater you. Wow.
Ashe, yes. Ashe, you know we love that. We know we love that. Ashe, fingers.
Yes.
No, it's really, it's so powerful, you know, and for me, this is one of, you know, the meatiest, juiciest parts of all of our traditions, whether we're talking Ifa, whether we're talking Hoodoo, whether we're talking a Khan tradition, all of our ancestors understood these things, right? There was never a separation between so-called science and so-called spirituality, because for our ancestors, everything was integrated, every part of ourselves, the part that was connected to the divine, the part that was connected to the earth, which is basically what science is, right? Figuring out how the elements play into all of this, but they can't measure that divine spark, right? And so we come with those programs, and even though we may have forgotten them, as you're saying, Yeye, the divination helps us to zero in on what those things are. And so one of the things I always talk about, like for myself, in terms of my own spiritual journey, it's clear that some of my ancestors got a hold of me, and that I was born with a certain type of programming and a certain type of proclivity towards ancestral spirituality, right? Towards indigenous spirituality. Even from a young child, I would collect rocks and shells and put them together and say I'm building an altar. And my mom would, you know, be like, okay, you know, I'm like, oh no, don't touch that. That's my space. I'm making potions, you know. So all of these things were there. And then when I got involved with African spirituality, I was able to hone in on, oh, okay, this is why, right? You are running, this is the program that you're running. Here is who you are. So my Odu, Ogunda Wanrin, talks about the connection to the ancestors and says that it's our mothers and our fathers who are the ones who carry us forward and who originate our traditions and who should be respected. And so it speaks to why in my spirit, I was always programmed towards respecting my elders, right? And really loving that connection to elders, thinking about the ancestors and being called to their spirituality. And so then through Ifa and through the revelation of my Odu, I got some more specific prescriptions about how to live that out, right? How to do it, what to do along the way, what types of people even to associate with and not, what types of medicines to use and not use, right? All of these things that will assist in realizing the vision. And so one of the ways that I think these two beautiful things can work together, as far as NLP and Urdu, especially having experienced both and had this beautiful experience of with the NLP, I think one of the things that it really allows us to do, and in the experience that I had that was so beautiful, is to go back and relive an experience. Dawn, maybe you could share that one exercise where you're reliving an experience from your own perspective, then from the other person's perspective that you had it with, and then from that outside perspective. Maybe talk a little bit about that exercise, because I think that as well, is a way to that we are able to read a situation, so to speak, even more deeply and understand what motivations in the same way that reading it with Oju might do.
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. I also want to say, as you're talking about ancestors, when I was going through my training for NLP for my certification, we, obviously practicing a lot of processes with people so we can get good with them. And on one particular process, I went back, I don't even remember what it was that I was clearing, but there's these timeline processes where you can go in the future on your timeline, you can also go in the past in your timeline. And I kept going. Sometimes people know exactly what event they land in and they're aware of what's going on. They remember it. They have a conscious memory. But many times we don't. We don't know where we are and we're just feeling emotions. We're feeling maybe fear or, a lot of different emotions that come up. And we can still clear even when they don't know. But I went back like past my birth. I didn't know where I was. I felt like I went all the way back to the beginning of time, clearing. I feel like it was anger or something like that from like women all the way back to the beginning of time. And it was so powerful. And so yes, the ancestry or the lineage, however you want to put it. And Dr. Goswami talks about how it's almost like beads on a string, that the consciousness is, reincarnation can have different definitions, but his definition of it is like that consciousness is reincarnated and we're continuing to work on this thing. And I think that has a lot to do with maybe what you ladies are talking about. Like we come in here, we're born with, hey, this is what you're working on this lifetime. This is what you need to keep working on. And two things that we can all be working on is the archetype of love and the archetype of goodness. We can all be working on those and trying to do our best to explore, well, what is love? How can I love even more? How can I be even more good in the world and bring more goodness, more love to the world as I go through my life? But that process that you're both talking about, so you can go back into an experience that you had in the past that maybe, every time you think about it, it just brings up some ickiness of some sort, some negative emotions for you. And you're not really sure how to deal with it. And maybe every time you see that person or have that experience, it just brings up these things and you don't want to have that anymore. You want to be able to move forward into the future and clear any fear around anything and be able to just, go in with confidence to meet that person or that situation, whatever it is that you're working on. So you can go back into a situation, let's say you and another person, look at that situation, notice the emotions from your perspective. So looking through your own eyes, hearing through your own ears, feeling through your own body, and just notice what's going on from that perspective. And oftentimes that tends to be, we felt victimized. It's a lot of times where those experiences take us. Maybe we felt like something was wrong, done wrong to us. And then if we float out of that perspective and then land in the other person's perspective and looking through their eyes and hearing through their ears and feeling through their body, sensing things, all of a sudden we become aware of these other emotions that they're having. And instead of consciously saying, oh, they're maybe feeling this way or that way, we are downloading into like, whoa, they were doing the best that they could. They didn't have good resources. Maybe their parents didn't show them, or maybe this happened in their life and they're doing the best they can in this moment. And they didn't mean for me to create that belief for myself in that moment. They didn't mean for that to happen. They were actually trying to help me or trying to save me or keep me safe. But somehow I developed this other belief that I'm not good enough. That seems to be, I'm not lovable. That seems to be a popular one. And then we can float out of that perspective and look from the observer perspective and see, well, what really is the truth that's going on here? The truth is these two people, they're just doing the best they can with the resources they have available at that time. They're not, trying to do, they are just trying to live in that moment and doing what they thought was best in that moment. And all of a sudden, when then we float back into our own perspective with all that new awareness, it softens it. It
Yes.
softens it. And it's like, oh, now, okay, I don't have to have this belief anymore. I can choose a different one.
Correct.
And we can even play around and change the dynamics of that whole thing, replay it in our mind with a different movie.
Yeah.
And it shifts everything
Exactly.
moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I liked about NLPs, because that experience for me was like, wow. I always try to remember and focus and do rituals and all of that to come back that the only thing that I know is that people are basically good. People are basically good. And that love is really the one thing that can change everything. Even in the midst of whatever you're feeling, you know, and you realize that the person was coming from a place of love and that you can love in spite of. That was like bing, 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 bing for me. It changed my whole perspective about looking at, you know, the COVID thing in my life and the way I'm evolving, is that to know that you have the ability to look from someone else's perspective and don't have to go back and apologize, ask for forgiveness and all of that. Just give yourself an opportunity to see that you are just like them and they are just like you. Everybody's doing the best that they can, because at the base of it, everybody wants to be good and everybody wants to love. You know, so one of the things someone was saying here, that how religion disconnects us from each other and from the ability of the potential for knowing that good and love is the base of it. And I think that is because sometimes when we come from a dogma and we believe that we are disconnected and we are all different, that we are not all expressions of the divine, that I'm from this little hole and you from this hole and we're from here. And so we try to stay in our little holes. And the dogma is to hold us, because religion is supposed to help you to understand your culture, what you're coming from, where you are. However, it's not to put you in a place where you're so frightened that when you meet someone from another hole or another culture, you can say, oh no, mine is better than yours. You got to do it about, well, as we said before, a tree in the winter looks completely different. It's always about change. And how can we go along and get along and understand that what we're going through is just another expression of us in a different color, framework, understanding, height, weight, whatever. We're all the same. That interconnection and interdependence of the divine is the thing that Odu and NLP is about knowing that everything that's happened to you has been programmed from before you came. What's going to make you leave this earth feeling accomplished and die in your sleep at 110 is that you realize, I'm grateful. I'm grateful because all of it led me to being able to die at 110 and not at 23. And we have to know that the power that we have is to resonate. And by us knowing these different holes and these different peoples and this, we have to come from dogma. We can't assume that our way is the only way and is the right way and is the only way and the other ways are wrong. And so I think that perhaps y'all can talk on this, speak on this, is that I think that when we are unhappy or when we are joyful, we have the power to infect and to inflect change. And that's what's happening now with what's happening in America and what's happening in the world, what COVID, but more than that, with how the young people are now resonating to the point where we have, the world is huge, but we've become so close because of just knowing and the computer age and all of that, that God put us in our own spirit to know how to create these things for us to get closer, to recognize that we're the same. That is all organized, it's all pre-organized. And so maybe y'all can speak for the perspective of what's happening today in that was it, and this is my belief, is that the resonance that we created, that we wanted to get along, we want to get out of our holes, and we've met each other in different places. And the fear that we had from where our elders were or wherever they're where we were, their fear, we are trying to hold it up. And our spirit is saying, no, we gotta stop. We gotta get into love, and we gotta know each other and appreciate each other, respect each other, and be fair and be honorable. That's what I feel is that we have created such a resonance because we want harmony, we want balance, we want the plants to love us, we want to love the plants. And so all of us, in one way or another, we created this energetic field that now we created something that we can say, these young people say, now this is what we want for the future.
Right.
Speak to that.
I think, one thing is really important to remember as those are my students who are here, and shout out to all of those of my students who I see watching, that we always talk about is that religion, quote unquote, as we know it today, and in most cases, when we're talking about religion, we're speaking about Christianity as practiced in the West, was instantiated in the way that it was in order to exert control. Yes. Period. If we're being completely honest about the way that it was deployed, now this doesn't mean that that is what the spiritual teachings of the tradition say, but if we're honest about the way it was used, we understand that that was what it was about. And so just from that perspective of starting there and taking a breath and saying, okay, even if I'm, whether I'm a Christian, whatever path I'm on, I have to understand how this tradition has been used in order to now move past that and into the real spirituality of it, right? And into the real connection of it, into the real way that it is supposed to awaken and enlighten me. So my mother, Rev Regina, is here. Hello, Mom. That she is a reverend, and she uses these affirmations, as we say, and these scriptures and things to reinitiate, right, to bring forth the joy. She is also clear as a woman of African descent how this tradition has been used against her people, but she has learned to bring out those personal connective aspects, right? Yes. Which is what our ancestors tapped into when they developed Hoodoo tradition. They tapped into those personal connective aspects. They tapped into this programming aspect with the divine, right? That I can reach out to God and I can repeat these statements and I can program myself. In Ifa, it says that we continually have to reinitiate ourselves, right? Yes. It is not in Ogbeate, as my God brother who was in here reminded me, it says that we have to do this work. This is one of the things that I think is very important in terms of a connection between NLP and Odu, is that no one can do the work for us. Even if we go to receive a reading from an Ifa diviner, ultimately, what that diviner is going to do is give us advice. Every Odu says the client was advised to ... And either they did it or they didn't do it, and how the story turned out based on their own actions. And so that's something that's hugely important, I think. And I see Dawn nodding. I can't wait to hear what she has to say about this. In terms of thinking about the fact that in both of these systems, and in every spiritual system, every scientific system, every system, there's no way of getting around the work that we have to do. No one else can do the work for us. No one else can do the experiment for us, because life is one long experiment. We're testing things, we do something and we see how it works. And then we go back to Issues Crossroads and do something else if that first thing didn't work. And that's scientific experimentation, right? So that's how we live life. And nobody can do that for us. We have to go to the diviner, get that divination. We have to then perform the sacrifice. We have to go to that NLP session and be willing to be open and be honest with ourselves first, right? That's the deepest part sometimes. And that's what divination and why having therapists and counselors is important, because they help to reflect things back to us, right? They help to reflect things back to us that sometimes we refuse to see ourselves, which is why even us diviners go to other diviners to get readings. We don't do the reading for ourselves because we need someone to reflect back. So yeah, Sister Dawn, help us. I see you nodding vigorously.
Yes. Her earrings are just going like bling, bling, bling.
1000%. I was writing it down here on my notes as she's talking, because I don't want to forget some of these points that you ladies are bringing up and bring up. But where do I start here? So the process that I was just talking to you about, what happens a lot, I talked about, many times we go back and we find ourselves in that blaming place. This person did this thing to me and they made me feel this way. And now I have this problem. And it's like, oh, guess what? We get to choose to go back and say, okay, I don't want to have that problem anymore. But also seeing, oh, I don't have to blame them anymore. And I can forgive myself for creating this belief. But at the time it was serving me. But now I don't have to have that anymore. And we can now take ownership and take responsibility for ourselves. So when I first was introduced to NLP, it was for my own coaching. Oh man, I wanted to blame my ex-husband. Oh man, I wanted to blame my ex-boyfriends. I wanted to blame my parents for the things that they did to me when I was a kid. I wanted to blame my bullies from school. I wanted to blame, look at people that were wealthy and say negative things about them. If I say negative things about wealthy people, am I ever going to become wealthy? No, because I don't have a positive view of them. So then I would have a negative view of myself. So I'm gonna say, no, that's not for me. And I can point the finger at everybody else. And when I realized that I was being a victim in all of those situations, as soon as I started working on me, and I was already working on me in other ways, but then NLP came along. And like you ladies kind of said too, it's like this little like, ooh, this is another way that like connects with all these other things. And it's almost like that last little tip of the iceberg that we need. But as soon as I started working with NLP and realizing, as I work on myself, all of a sudden, all of my relationships started shifting. They weren't doing anything. My perspective shifted because no longer was I making them wrong. No longer was I making my parents wrong. I understood they were doing the best they could. They didn't know I was their first kid. They didn't know how to be a parent. They did what was taught to them. And you know what? They did a good job. Here I am, and I have now been able to show them, how I'm shifting and changing. And that's hard sometimes. So for people that are watching, it is hard to break those. Like you can go back in your family and you become that 12-year-old little girl again, and everything, right, is keeping you in that same programming because they still have the same thing. So sometimes it can be hard because if the people around you are not changing, you either need to decide, I can't be with these people anymore. And sometimes that's hard, or I can only take so much of these people. And when it's your family, that's really hard. Or I just have to love them where they're at and just understand they may not think the same way that I do, but I have to love them more. And that's on me. That is on me. I get to own how I'm showing up. I get to own my own growth. I get to own what beliefs I am plugging in there, as you ladies were talking about. And it really does. I mean, 1,000%, Dr. Funlayo, 1,000%. We have to do the work. We have to do the work for ourselves. And if we work on ourselves, that's how we start changing the world around us. That's how we change our communities. That's how we can change all of humanity. I firmly believe that. Starts with us.
One of the yes, I share. Both of you are like, woo, I love it.
And that compassion piece, I think, is so important because we have to give others the compassion we want them to give us. Yes. I know many times, many of us, because we have the views that we have even towards our religious upbringing, right? We then turn to this point where it's like, well, any relative that stays with that religion, I can't deal with them. I can't talk to them. We close our minds and have the same type of intolerance toward them that we didn't want them to have towards us. And so it was important for me always, as I made my move and transition, to extend that same grace to my family and say, listen, I want them to accept my path, so I have to accept their path too. And it doesn't mean I have to agree with everything on that path, but it means showing the compassion. And again, that's another thing that talking about the switching positions in NLP, and then the idea of compassion is heavy in Ifa as well. Baba Wande Abimbola talks about how Ifa says that if we are walking in the woods and we step on a stick and it breaks, that we should think about how it might feel to be stepped on and broken. right? So just always allowing that grace and compassion to flow back and forth, especially between ourselves and people who we love and who we know have our best interests and who we are trying to build community with, because we oftentimes extend more grace to people, outside than we do to the ones closest to us. And so it's really, really important, again, as we think about programming ourselves, not only as individuals, but as a community, right? Towards more community uplift, towards changing the way that we are interacting with each other, extending grace towards each other is going to be a very important theme. So I'm glad that you mentioned that as well, Dawn.
Yeah, and as you were talking about, working with coaches too, I wanted to touch on that. I cannot work with someone who does not want to work. I'm not going to do it. It is not my job to try to get somebody from their current state to their desired state. I can't do that work for them. They do have to trust. I think, as you were talking about, they do have to trust in the process and trust that their unconscious mind is going to reveal what needs to be revealed right now, or the ancestors are going to reveal what needs to be revealed. Like, it's going to be revealed, and then they have to take action. It's like that same thing I was talking about. We can't just go and be enlightened and hang out in the spirit world. We have to then come treat and move your feet, right? Like, you've got to now take action. What are you going to do moving forward? Or you're just going to keep falling back into those same beliefs and programs that don't work for you.
I think that one of the things also is that both I see the collaboration here, the similarity in that in NLP and in IFA, when you become aware and you either be that by taking you back through the NLP process or through IFA letting you understand, once you take responsibility for what's going on, then you come from a place of, okay, I need to really be grateful for the experience. Because once you have that responsibility and it goes into gratitude, then you can have compassion. You can have compassion for yourself because you recognize that, everything in life is a blessing or a lesson. So those little things that we fall apart and we got to go and you got to remind us, those are little nuggets. Those are the blessings, but we can't see it while we're in the midst of it. So if we take ourselves out of it and then step away, then you could say, wow, I'm really grateful for that happening, however uncomfortable or painful it was. So that's how compassion comes into this. It's compassion for self. Then we can have compassion for our community, and we can put ourselves in the place of what's going on in their life to understand, what? My behavior is going to impact their behavior. So let me get on and get out of feeling stuck in my own dark mind, my own confusion. But to know that compassion is what's going to make us harmonize and become one with God again and change the vibration of everything that's going on around us. So
I don't know how many,
awesome.
I don't know how many clients I've had say, oh, you're not going to believe this. And every time I'm like, I probably will. Like, you're not going to believe this. I acted this way with my partner instead of this way that I used to act. And then they didn't know what to do and it shifted. And it's like, yeah, because you broke the pattern. You broke the pattern. You broke the pattern in yourself. And now you broke the pattern with this other person. And imagine if we continue breaking patterns that are not working for us patterns within and patterns with other people and other communities. That's the ticket. That's the ticket.
Wow. Well, we are coming to the close of our program. We're just going to be for an hour. If we stay, it's fine. Because we're going to have to come back. This is something that is so delicious that we need to come back on another level. Both ladies, I know both of you are very busy, but I just wanted us to get a little taste of the power of Odu and NLP, and then bringing it together to know that what's happening to us in the world today, it's depending on how we perceive it. If you feel like it's this, then, so at the ending, I just wanted to ask you, do you think that what's happening in our community, what do you think? Because I already gave my view on it. What do you think, and how can we live our true self in the midst of what's going on with the United States being an opportunity to show the world that we have always, in any way, through struggle or whatever, we always represented democracy. That's the history, is that we always represented democracy. However, we're trying, whether we failed or what, but at the end of it, other nations learned the example through us. So how do you ladies feel? What do you think about what's happening here and how we can be a piece of bringing it together and giving people who are feeling frightened, nervous, upset, unfocused, feeling like it's the end of the world? How do you feel that we can use the experience of Odu and NLP to bring that kind of feeling of hope? Because hope is not just sitting back. Hope is knowing that when I do my part, we will all connect to the big purpose.
Yeah, you said the magic words that I was just about to say. I think that, there's so much I can say, but I'll just say that, this is not anything new. This country was founded in the same types of things that we are seeing continue to go on to this day. So our ancestors have been through so much of this and worse. And we are grateful for the ways in which things have evolved. So I start there with gratitude for the evolution. Nothing is perfect anywhere, but I am grateful and I recognize the strides that the ancestors made so that we could have some of the evolution that we have. The other thing that I will say is that, in Ifa, and if you were at, if you attend my prayer services, you heard that we say about Eshu, the owner of the crossroads, that he's the owner of medicine and the owner of cuts. And what that means is that there are times that in order to get medicine and in order for something to change and heal us, we have to go through some pain. My mother actually preached about this from the 23rd Psalm, that God will prepare a table in the presence of my enemies. Think about what that means. We're going to be feasting and feeling good and having a table in the presence of our enemies. That means the enemies are going to be there. That means the environment is going to be dangerous, but we will still have that table prepared for us. And so I think, for me, that is what I try to take, that, we still have a ways to go. The la lucha continua, we still have struggle. And I stand with everyone who is out there in the struggle. And for me, my part of it is keeping us spiritually strong. Yes, I'm the one that I feel for the warriors, when they come back in from the battle, I got the medicine, I got the cool water, I got the prayers, that's my part. And so as Yeye said, I feel right now for each of us to say, what is my part? What am I doing? Don't criticize again. Don't be so quick to want to point the finger and say, oh, well, you're not out there at the protest, or you're not there doing this, so that means you're not. No, that's not everybody's part. Everybody can't do that part. We all have a different part to play. And so I encourage each of us to think about what I can do, right? What can I do? Touch your own ori right now and ask your own ori to open and expand, to ask, what can I do? What is my part to play in the true liberation of my people, whether that be being a warrior, being a spiritual healer, being the agriculturalist who makes the food. We can't live without that, right? So we can't denigrate any part of the system. We just each need to play our parts and make sure that we're playing them to the best of ability and with the highest purpose in mind.
Shay, thank you. And Dawn?
Man, yeah, this is a challenging topic, and I agree with everything you said. When we really need to have breakthroughs, whether it's in our personal lives or as a community, as a nation, as a world. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic right now too, a lot of times if we don't hit that rock bottom, we missed something at the bottom. And so as we're rising back up out of that, wait
a minute, wait, Dawn, you can't just run past that. You got to say that one more time. Wait a minute.
If we don't hit rock bottom, we might have missed something down there. We've got to go down there and we got to look and see what's there and not be afraid of that. I think a lot of people are afraid of that, but there are support systems. You got these two great ladies. I'm here to support anybody that's here. There's so many people that are here to support you. Just sometimes we have to surrender and let ourselves just fall in and just say, okay, I surrender. What is mine to learn here? What is mine to do here? Just as you were saying, what is mine to do? And maybe yours is not to be at the protest. Maybe what's yours to do is to sit in meditation and prayer and remember your oneness, so that when you are with other people, you can see that oneness and we're not hurting each other. And Dr. Funlayo, you were talking at the beginning too about patience, taking a breath, and at the same time, there is that, balancing the masculine and the feminine. The masculine is very much taking action. The feminine is being in the flow of things and balancing that. Sometimes we do need to take action and say, this isn't right, and we need to shift this. And other times, knowing when it's time to just be in the flow and be in the listening and patiently, what information, what messages am I receiving here? And how can I view this situation differently, whatever this situation, but, specifically what we're talking about right now. And again, we have to look at ourselves first. What is mine to do? And how can I be more loving when it is maybe hard to do? The most powerful thing we can do is get to that place of unconditional love that I do not think very many people get to. I don't know that I'm there yet. I'm working on it. It is a process.
Every day.
It's a process, not a destination.
No, it's not a destination. I say. And that's the title of this show is are you living in alignment with yourself? When you know who you are, you know what you came to do. You came to work on yourself, to evolve as a being, and to influence change, and to influence it, to make this world, whatever you found, add to it, make it better, not take away, but make it better. Then you are aligned with your true self. And when you are aligned with your true self, then you are one of the energies that's going to vibrate in the universe to bring a universal truth, which is we are all brothers and sisters on this one planet. We got to figure out how to get along, because we're not going anywhere else. I'm sure there are other life forms and other planets, but as for the life form that we chose to be incarnated this time, we got to know how to get along with it. And so, as both of you are saying, in tapping into who we are, is about being mindful that it takes work, it takes diligence, it takes awareness of who you are, and take responsibility for your part. Once you take that responsibility, then you say, oh, wow, then you can be compassionate, but you can also allow yourself to know that whatever you did, you can do it better the next time it comes up. Because it always is going to repeat itself in a different form. We're always going to be going to summer school. We're always going to be having these little moments. So remember what it is that we are. That will keep us in alignment with ourselves.
Yes.
Sisters of the same mother, life, are divine. We can call her Yemanja or Set, whoever it is that we align with the female principle of femininity. We are all their daughters. So I just give thanks for this opportunity. Ladies, please tell everyone where they can find you, what's up, what's going on, how they can be your little pee-pee cluck-clucks.
You're so great, Yeye. Well, first of all, we have to just thank you and just give you all the ashe and all the magic and send you all the love, because you are just a national treasure. You are out here. I tell you all the time, if you never did nothing else, you done did enough, but yet you continue every day to push and to keep serving the people and to keep bringing it. So just more grease to your elbow, more life to you, more minutes, years, and just thank you. Thank you for being who you are and bringing all of that. So as always, you are welcome to connect with me, your favorite scholar priestess, at ASHEIRE.com. That is ASEIRE.com. And I will look forward to communing with you there. Yalode and I work together quite a lot. So I look forward to seeing all of our communities together again. And I will also invite you at 3:00 today to join for PhD Polishes Sip and Shop Sundays. I'll just give you a little preview. Let me see how my nails look.
Oh, I've heard
tell
about
you
it.
about I'll tell you a little about the polish, but beyond the polish, it's going to just be a fun time to relax. Remember, after the work is done, joy is very important. Joy and relaxation. So we got a DJ in there for you. We're going to enjoy ourselves. And so please come on through phdpolish.com. We'll get you the link. Blessings.
I'm going to write that down.
Yes.
And my quarantine meals.
Oh yeah, come on and get you some, girl. Look, this is for the boss women like us who don't have time to be, playing around.
Right. And yes, you are just so inspirational, and it's just such a joy to have been working with you these last 5 months. And I just, it's so fun to watch you grow, and I know what's coming a little bit in your future, and it's very exciting, and I can't wait for everybody to have even more of who you are, and as you step into even more into your greatness. And it's so wonderful. And thank you, Dr. Funlayo, this was such a great conversation. This was this is the exact kind of stuff that I want to be talking about all over the place. And so thank you for this opportunity to be able to have this conversation. If anybody wants to learn more about NLP, you can get a free 20-minute chat with me. And you can sign up for that on my website, and that is mobilelighthousellc.com. Mobile Lighthouse, MOBILE, Lighthouse, LLC.com.
Yes, Funlayo is putting it in the chat.
Oh, great.
I have it in there. Yes, and so what I have coming up for me, of course, is thank you, ladies. Y'all were magnificent. And both of us, when I approached both of you, said, oh my gosh, yes, definitely. We want to talk because we all know each other. And this is something that we all have been asking to do, is to expand our practice, expand the things that we're doing, as the mover and shaker that the daughters of Obatala are. We had to bring another little Obatala girl up in here so that we could do the work. So thank you so much. And what's coming up for me is go on my website, Yeyefini.com. I have a fabulous new classes coming up. They start on the 6th of June, and is the one that is the 9 souls. That's a very powerful class, is knowing how each aspect of the world that we live in affects us. We have a universal soul that connects us to the world and how we relate on this planet. We have a national soul. How do we relate on this planet as living under one political system or one kind of national soul or one flag? Then we have our cultural soul, the culture that we live in. How does that affect us? Then we have our sexual soul. How coming back and reincarnated as a woman or a man has an effect on how you evolved as a being. You have your religious soul, how you are attracted to religion. Are you going to pick up rocks, or does another kind of music appeal to you? How do you have your personal soul, the things that you like? I love the color gold or orange. What is it that makes you like those things? So all aspects of your soul are connected to being who you are. So that's the class that we have, and you can go. It's on the 6th. Go on my website, Yeyefini.com, and you will connect there through Teachable. That's the platform that I'm teaching from. And so just feel free to do that. Also, join us at the nail and sip that we're having. I am sharing with you a wonderful new incense, which is to rip and tear and to remove. It's the NLP. It's the NLPs to bring in clarity by letting you go down into those ugly places and just rip it open. It's the NLP incense.
Yes, now.
Yes, it's an incense that is so fabulous that Oya gave it to me. And my Oshun is the road of Ibukole, which is the scientist. She always wants to come up with something new because she's the one that really is the tie between Earth and the universe. She's the one that takes the Ashe out of the gourd and take it to Olodumare, the road that I have. And so she's always coming up with some new ways that we can get to Olodumare, some kind of new thing that we can take of what we don't have and create something else. So this incense I'm very excited about. And of course, join us on Wednesday, because during the week, especially with what's going on here, it with the COVID, as well as just our children, our universe is coming together by going down and digging and hitting those hard places to come up into the new us. Things are going to be shaking up this week. So you want to come on Wednesday to get that recharge on Wednesday with Dr. Funlayo and myself, and we have Obatala present to give you that recharge to come, because from what I saw on the news earlier is that the voice of the youth, the voice of the new pioneers have reached Europe, it's England, all over. People are doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing. He said enough is enough. So this is not about America. This is a global thing, just like the pandemic got our attention to stay in, sit in, look at how we're going to come out, face the wall, time out, come out. So this is how we're coming out, change. We're coming out with a change, and the change is going to be good because everybody knows, you know what? Justice and injustice has nothing to do with unconditional love. And we got to take responsibility and do the thing that we need to do. In spite of our dogma, in spite of our fear, we know that we are stuck on this one planet. Our universal soul is that we're stuck here. We got to figure out how to do it better and leave a legacy for our children. And that's why for our children to lead us, that's wonderful. So let's just send them some prayer, send them some Reiki vibration. Whenever you think of them, whenever you see something, just send that energy healing to the youth, to the children, to the mothers, to the fathers, to the elders, to the men, to the women of all colors, races, and creeds who are resonating with the divine, knowing that all that we do is to connect us to the greater good of humanity, and so that we can come from a place of love, peace, and forgiveness. Ashe, 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 ashe. So thank you, ladies.
Ashe.
Thank you, thank you.
Blessings.
We'll be
Thank
back
you.
again on another show.
Yes.
All right.
I want you to take us through one of the treatments.
Yes, that'd be beautiful.
That's going to be the next show.
Ashe.
It's always stirring up something. And you know, myself, the Obatalas, we're always trying to find some way of recreating the world. That's what the Obatalas do. So thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you.
And the chat is just awesome. Everybody's in there. Funlayo, thank you for answering, because you know I can't.
Yes, no problem. Thank you to everybody
so
who's watching. Blessings to all of you.
Yes, I'm so humble. Thank you. And again, Ask Yeyefini show will be the first Sunday of next month, which is July.
Yes.
That might be my birthday.
Oh, wonderful.
Hey.
What day is that?
Yes, the first Sunday. Okay, so everyone have a blessed evening.
My birthday's the 4th.
And see y'all in Sip and Shop. Sip and Shop.
Sip and Shop.
Sip and Shop. Where is it? How do they get in there?
PhDpolish.com. And there's a button for you to come in and register.
And don't forget, 20 minutes of a treatment with Dawn Bauer. You will not be disappointed. 20 minutes has led to many new connections for me, and I have shared it with others. So thank you.
Sure. Links are in the chat. Take good care, everybody.
And meaning for all.